Before we get started, here is a quick recap. What these places are and their locations. The M6 motorway travels up half of the country. At various places are motorway services. 2 of these locations have unique 1960s and 1970s buildings. These are Hilton Park and Lancaster services. Both these places were designed by a company called TopRank, which were known for their elaborate buildings back in the 60s and 70s. In a different video, I explain more about these buildings. Click the link above or in the description to find out more. I receive a lot of messages about revisiting these places. So we start with footage from a quick revisit from early 2018. And then to later in the year, and something totally epic. Also, the lift at Hilton Park is up to its old tricks again. This time, the lift is trying to tell me something. Lancaster is the most elaborate building. Last time this classic lift was still working, which now only serves the ground and first floor. Only this modernised lift is now working, which I couldn't be bothered to ride, so that's about it for Lancaster. The 1970s lift is still here, but no longer in use. The other lift is just a standard, boring modern day lift with no character. With this unspectacular visit to Lancaster complete, now Hilton Park. Last time the old lift greeted me like this. Personally, I love it. Other visits, only the left lift was working, whilst the right lift was locked off. These are some really creepy lifts, which I'm surprised are still running. Perhaps now they've been modernised. In a moment, I'll explain why the doors rattle while opening. Exciting stuff! But there's even more exciting stuff later. That clattering sound are weights inside the outer door, which pulls then shut if opened when the lift is not present. You know, that explanation was not good enough. This is what I mean. There we have it, Hilton Park in the early 2018. Now let's go to August. People that know my channel know what's coming up. the right lift has been modernised. It was inevitable. That's Hilton Park off my list then, as, like with the Lancaster Tower, the new lift has taken over from the old one. Or has it? This is where I was going to cut to my outro and say, you'll find out in part 2. But I've got a much better ending planned. This is now the second time I've seen a choice for passengers to choose an old or a new lift. I'm not even talking a few years difference here. You can ride in a new lift installed in 2018, or choose to ride in the Otis, which was installed in 1967. And again at this place, an old Otis or a brand new Kone. For me, there can only be one choice. But this lift has had enough. It does not want to be bothered anymore. When a lift does this, it would make most people want to ride the modern lift. But for me, it just makes me more eager to ride this old one. That's more like it. But this lift is determined to have the last word. Surely this doesn't have long left, but for me, the older it gets, the more character it gains. Just how long this lift is kept running is anyone's guess. I'm assuming that once it breaks down and requires parts, that'll be the end of it. Don't you think it would have made more sense to keep the down button? I mean, to go down, I now have to press the up button. The explanation about why the down button was removed is quite fascinating. I spent so long making this animation, I have decided to upload it as a separate video. Now for the shaft photos, and the surprise you've all presumably been waiting for.